And we're back, guys. How's everyone doing tonight? This video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use. We're also covered under the Fair Dealings Act as well as the Digital Millennium Act. I'm your host, Get Energy, in the studio tonight, and we're taking a look at the reigning and soon to be defending WTA Champion of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Also, Roland Garros champion Iga Swiatek in the building, but not without controversy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Kafelnikov, that's right, Russian former tennis player, ex-champ, is bashing Iga Swiatek. He says all you do is complain. Unbelievable. Now, he's a two-time Grand Slam champion. We all know that, right? But he says Iga Swiatek complains all the time, and we are sick of it. What do you guys think? In particular, and of course, we all know Iga Swiatek lost her last match against Aryna Sabalenka, the Western and Southern Open, trying to pass Serena Williams, trying to break another one of her records. And she would say, look, the schedule, the tour schedule, it's too much and it's not going to end well. Well, I mean, I've been saying that for a while as well, right? And we're going to pivot. We're going to take a look at someone that has dominated Iga Swiatek in the head-to-head, Elena Rybakina. She's been complaining. She's been saying the same exact words for a long time. It's not going to end well. The tour is too grueling. It's too long. It's too physical. And if you think this is going to be a video where we bash Iga, look, I'm honest, right? It's all about integrity, speaking your truth. And look, this is not going to be a video where we bash Iga, because I kind of agree with her. I think the schedule is too much. Tennis is the only sport where there's no real off season. Take a look at basketball. Season ends mid-June. They have the rest of June, July, August, September, and then now they rev it up in October. Look at football. Super Bowl's over in February, but most teams are out before that. Even if you win the Super Bowl, you got March, April, May, June, July before you start OTAs. Baseball, right? Season ends October for the last two teams standing. You got until March. The reality here is tennis, it's at least for the top tier athletes, it's an 11-month season, and we can say 11 and a half for 12 months because now they're in Australia early to start the next year. I think the schedule is too long, and the reality here is the pay is not that great. That was another topic that came up, She's complaining about pay. The reality here is I've complained about pay for the ladies for a long time. Who else does this but me on the internet? I've said, I think the WTA needs to get their sponsors together, allocate $10 million. Any player inside the top 100 gets a $100,000 bonus. Simple as that. What's going to happen if that happens? We're going to have, let's take a look at the lower half of that top 100. The players ranked 50 to 100. You know how competitive the tour is going to get for players fighting for that to be inside the top 100? Now, that's going to have a spillover effect. You're going to have players ranked 50, 40, winning Grand Slams. It's going to make the tour a lot more competitive because now you have players that can allocate their resources. They can get better coaching, better equipment, et cetera, et cetera. It's, in case you guys don't know, these lower level tournaments, these 125Ks, even on the ITF, these players, a lot of them are friends. It's a small world, right? But you have a lot of players that when they go to these cities in these different countries, they're sharing rooms, 3 to 4 people in a room, okay? And we talk about nutrition and diet and just getting replenished, getting the fuel you need to play and be consistent and at your best. It's not happening. Funding is a big problem. The tour, look, if you win a 250, 25K, right, they up the pay a little bit more, but you're still paying half of your check to game fees. These players, they pay for these stadiums to be upkept. It comes out of their checks, and the reality here is the pay is an issue, so I agree with Iga there. Pay is an issue, and Dasha came to her defense as well, so congratulations to Dasha. We all know they're pretty tight. Iga has spoke up a lot in terms of the war in between Russia and Ukraine. And I agree with the pay, so I'm there with Iga. I do think they need to pay more, and I've talked about that $100,000 bonus. Ladies need it. Of course, the Igas, the Cocos. Coco's the highest paid female athlete last year. Coco's not going to need it. Iga's not going to need it. But there's a lot of players in that lower half of that top 100 beyond that will need it and can use that kind of money. It's a lot of money. They can use it. But the reality here is, Iga, let's talk about what she said, right? And it's about level, right? And she talked about being able to play at your highest level. And I'm going to pivot and talk about how players like Coco, Rebecca, and how we've seen their level dip. And I've made some videos about what's wrong with Coco. There's nothing wrong with Coco, guys. The season's too long. She's 20 years old. We let's take a look at the people that make up this country or even worldwide. Doesn't matter where you are, right? The big story when you're an adult, when you're a parent, is the balance between your work life and your personal life and your home life, right? Where's that balance? Does your company, does your employer, does your job give you that balance, right? That balance to where you can, raise your family. You can do things with your disposable income. You can have a life to where you're not revolving around your job, which leads to depression, right? Tennis, in terms of the WTA, even the ATP, there's no home life balance. So you take someone 20 years old like Coco, and you wonder why her level's dropping lately. There's nothing wrong with her game. There's nothing wrong with her game. It's the schedule. These players want to do stuff. They're in these beautiful cities every other week. They want to be able to do things. And yes, they do have their fair share of, excursions and things like that. But the reality here is being a tennis player, a professional tennis player, takes a lot of dedication. And we've heard players like Gail Monfils. We've heard all of these players talk about this in the past. If you want to be a successful tennis player, be prepared to have no life. You have to practice all the time. The recovery, the schedule, it's so grueling. And I think the reality here is the tour should probably be ending in October. January to October. And then you have the top players. They're going to Africa and they're playing in the World Tennis League. And the reality here is that's another nightmare, right? Because that's right before the Cup and the Adelaide International. So they're not even getting 1 month off during the year. They're playing constantly all year long. These are women. Their bodies are going to break down. And Chris Everett came to Iga's defense, right? Because Iga's getting dragged through the mud. She complains a lot. And Chris Everett brought up a good point. Chris Everett said, listen, the tours change. And of course, when Chris Everett played, right? She said, look, you can get away with not bringing your A game when I played. Said today you cannot. These players, and I think Paula Badosa said it best, take a page from her book. She said, look, it doesn't matter your ranking. Anyone inside the top 100 can beat anyone on any given day. She said it takes a while for me to figure players out that are ranked higher. But the reality here is I can figure them out. But still, if they bring their game, they can beat you. And I think that's true. The tour is very competitive. And you take a look at Coco. Coco loses a match in 3 sets where she's up. And people say, oh, Coco needs to work on her game. She's finished. No, guys. No. Get serious here. Most of Coco's losses have come in the 3rd set when she's been leading in the match. She gets a little too nonchalant. There's nothing wrong with her game. But again, she's 20 years old, guys. Sometimes you want to be able to leave work and enjoy your life. With tennis, you can't. And a lot of people say, hey, it comes with the territory. Look, they're paid millions of dollars. Yeah, from endorsements, not from the WTA. Unless you're winning, constantly Masters and Slams, which, we all know. Coco's made several. She's made a couple Slam championship finals. We know Iga's won multiple Slams, but Iga said the tour is getting crazier. The schedule's getting crazier. And I think we have to also factor in the off-court obligations. These players are celebrities. They have endorsements. They have businesses. They have a lot going on. They really, really do. And again, we're going to go back to Chris Everett. Chris Everett said, look, you have to bring your A game now. We didn't have to back then in the 70s. She said you could, in the 80s, she said you could essentially not be at your best and still dominate. What do you think about today's game? Can you dominate today's game and not be at your best? I don't think so in any sport. You have to be at your best all the time to dominate. So I think Chris Everett, I understand what she's trying to say, but yeah, evolution occurs, right? The game evolves. Every game evolves. When Vince Carter came out and did that crazy dunk, we've never seen anything like that before. Even Jordan's dunks, which still are amazing. We see players doing 720s dunking the basketball. That's stuff that's never been done. So games evolve, sports evolve, and we're constantly going to get the best because why? The competition is constantly trying to improve and become better than the best. So that's how things evolve. But what do you guys think? Iga Swiatek attacked with her comments on pay, attacked with her comments in terms of the schedule. Do you think it's justified? Do you think it was fair? Me personally, I'm going to have to agree with Iga. I think the schedule's out of hand. I think it's out of hand. Do you guys think the schedule's out of hand? What is the solution? Should it be I think a 10-month season is all you need. I mean, extending the finals into November, and you probably ask yourself why. Greed. Tour wants to make more money. That's all it is. There's too many events. Let's just be honest. There's way too many events, But again, Iga Swiatek under pressure, criticized a lot on Twitter. A lot of fans saying, hey, is someone pushing you to play? All you do is complain. I'll tell you what you deserve. You deserve to get paid a lot less than you do now. How about that? Wow. Iga Swiatek just dragged through the mud. That's pretty harsh. I'll be honest with you. That's harsh. She deserves to get paid a lot less than she does now. Kefelnikov was out of line with that. You guys think so? I think so. I think he was out of line for that comment. As long as she's winning, she deserves to be paid. But the reality here is she's got a point. Schedule's too long. Rebecca has been complaining. These ladies, their bodies are going to wear down and break down, Now, there are obligations as well. The master events, they have to play. Unless you're injured, you got to play in the master, in the slams. You have to because they're the big draws, They're the revenue drivers. If the tour is to be shortened, we all know a lot of cities that are hosting some of these amazing tournaments, they're going to be upset. So where do you cut out the schedule? We all know grass is the shortest season of the year. Where do you make those cuts? That's going to be tough. I think at minimum, you're going to have to probably take a look at the North American swing. Because, look at this swing. We have Toronto. We have the Western or Southern Open. We have the Citibank Open. We have Cleveland and sometimes Chicago, Monterey. And then the U.S. Open. First of all, we got to cut maybe one or two of those tournaments out. Clay is a bit much. And then you factor in, extending the master events on clay just under 2 weeks. That's a lot right there. That's a big chunk of the schedule. Grass is the shortest season. I don't think you can cut out anything in grass because there's not even a master event there. The first portion of the tour, maybe get rid of the extra Adelaide. Probably, right? That's the only thing I can do. Dubai, maybe one of those tournaments. You're going to have to cut one of those tournaments. I don't know. In China. The tour just came back to China. Before that, the schedule wasn't as bad, but China's tough. Another long flight. And then the finals. I don't know. Should we let less people in the WTA finals to shorten that? There's so many things that need fixing, but I think more than anything, I think the pay needs to be straightened out. The ladies, they don't earn as much as they should. But again, this is a business. It's about revenue. I do think they have enough sponsors and advertisers though to make up the cost for a lot of these tournaments. That's my personal opinion. But again, does Iga complain too much? What do you guys think? I think she is a bit vocal. And, for example, take a look at someone like Coco. She's a philanthropist, she's an activist, she speaks up for a lot of people. But when she's complaining on the court, it's because of her being done wrong a lot, right? Iga's very, very vocal. Now, in terms of the war in Russia and Ukraine, she came out, she said a lot of things I felt were inappropriate, and she ended up apologizing because I think she realized after the fact that probably wasn't her place to speak on a lot of those issues. And I think just being young, and sometimes you have people kind of pushing you on and egging you on to say things and do things. I think she realized as she matured a little bit. It took a few months, but it's like, no, yeah, I should not have said those things. But should she talk up about the schedule and pay? Serena, her fight was multicultural. Her fight was very, very tough. And Sloane, Osaka, all those ladies, they made it clear Serena had so many issues that she battled with on the court that she had to make a lot of her fights about women, all women, because they didn't want to hear the African American issues, right? So she was very strategic at how she played it, and she was a success for a lot of the issues that she made public. I do think players like Coco, though, since Coco came out last year and spoke on her piece, her truth, that is, she's been getting a lot of bad calls. There's been a lot of things going on, and I notice it because I watch, the majority of these matches now. I used to watch all of them, but since Coco came out, she's been getting just treated very differently, and I don't think that's right either. But again, should the schedule be shortened? I mean, Iga's played 62 matches this year so far, right? Last year she played 81 matches. In 22 she played 80 matches. But take a look at 21. She only played 51. So the more she's winning, she's playing more. I do think she should also sit down with her camp and figure out what's best for her, because aside from the obligations you have, you don't have to play some of these other tournaments. And she does take her breaks when she wins the Roland Garros. She does take her breaks, but the reality here is she's got to sit down with her team and make sure she's healthy and she's doing the best for herself and her business. But I agree, the schedule's too long. I think the schedule should end in October. The ladies need at least a month to recover, and right now they don't really have that, because what's going to happen? I think Iga said it best, and I've been saying this for a long time. You're not going to get the players' best. And if you wonder why you see players where they have a good start to the season, then they dip, and then they kind of come back, third quarter, it's because the schedule's too long. And it's not that they're losing their form. I think a lot of players realize that their personal life, their mental health is much more important than winning a game. So when a player starts to lose or they go on the decline, they're not necessarily out of form, but they're trying to find that balance to keep their sanity. And I think right now that's what we're seeing with Coco. She's 20 years old. She's dating. She's into other things. There's nothing wrong with her game. She's 20 years old. We've all had jobs and careers where we feel we need more time for home and personal issues and personal things. And right now, all of the ladies are dealing with this on tour. So I agree with them. I support them. But it's a tough call. Where do you cut? How do you cut? I personally think the season should be 10 months. The season should be over in October. That's my personal opinion. What do you guys think? Iga Swiatek, does she talk too much? Does she deserve to be paid less? Receiving a lot of hate. I don't agree with it, guys. I agree with Iga on this one. Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tennis in a minute. See you soon.